Hey nerds, JJ Morris here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm very excited because I have another interview for you guys. Today I have author, director, and actor Jason Croot on the channel to talk a little bit about his debut book called How My Ego Screwed My Acting Career, and it is based on the true story of his life. So without further ado, let's welcome Jay Croot. Welcome, Jason, to my little corner of the internet. Thank you so much for joining me today. So Jason, you are, for anyone who doesn't know, you are, an author, an actor, director, filmmaker, and you wear many hats, and you have a very interesting story that you have told in your autobiography. So before we get into I definitely want to talk about your acting and your, film directing and all that. But before we get into that, first and foremost, let's talk about your autobiography that you have coming out.
Oh, I don't know where to start, really. I wrote the book. I've always wanted to write a book, but I did try to write several books, but my strength is not dialogue or writing like that. I can do the outline. The outline's fine. The storylines, I can do that. And but when it came to writing a book, I couldn't get it going, to be honest. So I decided to write a book about my life, starting from childhood up until now. And
when did you start writing?
Good question. I started in September last year.
Oh, okay. So wow, yeah, that's not long ago. Yeah, wow.
No, not long at all. And it was a really. I thought I'd done it. I pushed forward, and after 3 months, I had the first draft. I thought, oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm ready. But little did I know that it doesn't work that easy. So it's been a real labor of love since then, trying to it's easy for me to describe what happened in my life, but for the reader to understand, you have to really describe it well, which is not easy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And so the title of that is let me get it right. How My Ego Screwed My Acting Career.
My ego screwed my acting career. Yes.
My ego screwed my acting career.
Yeah.
That's just intriguing. First of all, how did you come up with that title?
Well, pretty much that's what happened in a nutshell. My career was going pretty well, and then my ego just took over me, and I started doing ridiculous things, and lo and behold, then all the opportunities stopped, and it completely screwed my career. So there's a lesson to be learned that the ego can take you places. Ignorance is bliss and all, but it can actually really screw you up, and that's really the essence of my book. That's what really happened. It's all the things that I put in there are. Are really it's really scary to think about what I've actually put in there, to be honest. I've not held back. I've put a lot of my life, my soul into describing my stories and telling everybody who's going to read it what happened in my life. Yeah.
So is there any fear that you have with this coming out that maybe you're not held back at all with anything that you've included in your autobiography? Is there any part of you that's a little bit afraid of what people might learn about you, or what people might think, or your family, or anything like that? You're like, I kind of hope some people don't read all of it.
Well, I didn't send you this line, but I'm really hoping that my mum doesn't read it. Should I show you it or read it?
You can read it, yeah.
Okay. Mum, I love you. However, if you get hold of this book, I advise you do not read it. Yes, I categorically don't want my mum to read this book. Yes. She knows that I'm writing a book, but I don't want her to read this book. In regards to anybody else, I don't really care. Not that I don't care about other people, but I've got this attitude that, you either like me or you don't. Not in an arrogant way. It's just, I got beyond that sort of barrier of worrying what people think about me a long time ago. It really gets you down when you kind of, you're walking down the street and then you kind of am I dressing the right way? Do I look the right way? And you're very conscious of even though you know a lot of people think actors are very, you know, outlandish and outgoing and, you know, extroverts. You know, a lot of actors are quite shy, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I'm not saying I'm shy, but I'm saying a lot of actors are shy, and yeah, it's a difficult book. It might be a difficult book for some people to read, but I've tried to stay neutral. I've tried not to badmouth anybody, even though I would have liked to. So obviously I get a lot of legal action if I use people's names and I told the stories, exactly. I mean, all the stories. If I told them as they were, then I might have a few legal lawsuits against me. So I've had to change people's names.
Okay.
Just in that for that reason. Yeah, but the stories are the stories, and you know, if people don't like me, then you know, say Livy.
Okay, so what was the first? What was the first? When did you decide? All right, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write my story. Is there any like inciting moment, or it was just kind of something you decided for a period of time?
Yeah, great question. Well, I guess it stems back to childhood. When I was at school, I had a really supportive English teacher. I was very rebellious at school. I was always in trouble, you know, rapscallion, you know, always the teachers, like, you know, they kept warning me, and I was constantly in the headmaster's office, and so on. But I had one teacher who believed in me, and she said that she was an English teacher. She said I had the most vivid imagination when she read one of my stories that she's ever seen. And that really fueled me, and I wanted to go home and write. And we got given an assignment to write 4 pages, and I remember going home and I wrote 29 pages that night. And I took it into school, and you know, I'm only supposed to hand in 4 pages. All my friends are handing this little thing, and I'm there with this, you know, 29 pages, not a lot, but back then it was, I guess. And yeah, it was really, it fueled me, and I loved writing. But then it all ended the year after. I had a new English teacher, and he was not so supportive, and I was always in trouble with him, and then kind of killed my imagination in writing a little bit. Yeah. So to answer your question, sorry.
Way back in the school days. So when did you pick up writing again after that?
Yeah, great question. I was walking to a supermarket one day. I was really well into my acting at that stage. My career was going quite reasonably well anyway. I'm not going to say I'm Al Pacino or anything, but it was going okay. And then I came up with an idea about writing a film about a film, because, you know, so many scenarios that I've gone through, you know, people reading newspapers when they're just a cameraman reading newspaper just before he's about to film, a guy texting on his phone when he's holding the boom. I had so many funny sort of anecdotes and stories. I kind of thought maybe I should write a film, a little bit like Living in Oblivion. I hadn't actually seen Living in Oblivion prior to this, but you know, a film within a film. It's not the most, you know, famous, or not famous, but the most sort of well-known genre. And when you try to explain what a film within a film is, unless you've seen one, a lot of people don't know what they are. So I kind of, I might wax lyrical in here. I'm going on a little bit. Would you say I came up with this concept, and within a day I'd written the script and the story and the outline, but no dialogue. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And within 3 weeks we'd filmed it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is quick.
Yeah, it was a real whirlwind, and it should have been disastrous. It should have been terrible. But it actually got picked up for distribution, believe it or not. Yeah, it was a very low budget film, but it came out reasonably well. I sent you a link. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it.
Yeah, is that the La Fear one?
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay. I watched like the first chunk of that. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but it made me laugh. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, and then I just started to because I love improvisation and I'm a great advocate of improvisation. I look at films, Coen Brothers and Tarantino, and I look at that dialogue and I think, wow, how do screenwriters really do that? I simply can't. I'm old man up. I'm an amateur when it comes to comparison. But when it comes to using my imagination to write plots and storylines, then I think that's where my strengths are. I'm not a plotter; I'm an outliner, by the way. Yes.
Okay. Okay, and
But
then
yeah,
yeah,
that's
you
how it
had
started. Yeah.
started. Okay, and that came out, when did that come out? 2010 was that? I think
Yeah,
that
we
was
filmed it in
2010.
2009, but it came
Okay.
out the next year. Yeah.
Okay, and then you had the other one, Le Sequel, which came out in 2016, correct?
Yeah, it's a peculiar one. We filmed it actually in 2012, but
Oh wow. Okay.
we sent it out to have a lot of reviews and critiques, if you like, and it came back and it had mixed response. A lot of them were really good, but then we knew that we needed to tweak it and edit it, so we did. And then, fortunately, we won a competition where some of the clips of the film got seen by Larry Charles, the creator of HBO, creator of Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, big opportunity. And he actually quoted, "It was hilarious." So on the strength of that, we thought, right, we're ready to go. But then we haven't technically released it fully after that time, but hoping that we can do it this year. Fingers crossed.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I know things. I don't really know a whole lot about like the film industry or anything like that, but I know things are, you get an opportunity and it's like maybe just like the budding possibility of an opportunity, and you really don't know if it's going to come of anything for like years. That kind of, the slow moving progress of the film industry is kind of, from what I've heard, similar to the publishing industry, at least the traditional publishing industry, with how things just take years for things to move forward, at least traditionally.
Yes and no, to answer your question. So you've got classic films that, the evergreen films that will always be great. Fargo, and I don't know what type of films you like watching, but I like. I don't like the studio films. I don't like the big blockbusters. Personally, not that I'm envious, but I just feel like they're stylized. There's too much money thrown at them. So I'm a great fan of John Cassavetes. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. Cassavetes was a most amazing filmmaker, one of the most amazing filmmakers ever to have lived. From America, I think his family came from Greece originally. But he wasn't really recognized in America. He had to go to Europe to get recognized. So, like, the Europeans loved it. And eventually America kind of warmed to him somewhat, but he was really rebellious. He was a wild guy, and he had so many run-ins with the studios, arguing with them. I love that type of character, that Dennis Hopper style, the really hellraisers. I really warm to those guys. And so I've lost my train of thought. Where were we on the question? Oh yeah, to link them up. So certain films like that will always sell. People will always want to watch them. However, there are certain films which are flash in the pan type films, which they come out and then 6 months later you just forget about them. Someone said, "Oh, have you watched that film?" You can't even remember who was in it, what it was about. Yeah. It wasn't that interesting, and so on. But with a book, I have read a fair bit. I would say I watch a lot more movies than reading. But if I going back to drama school, I'm going all over the place with this thing. But I would read Arthur Miller or Tennessee Williams, and you kind of you read what they've written, and you kind of think, how do they do this? How do they create that magic? And then you think to yourself, wow, this is incredible. I'm a little story about Arthur Miller. I'm going to really go off all the tangent a little bit, but
no, you're fine. Yeah.
Have you read A View from a Bridge by Arthur Miller? No.
Have not.
Well, he was a millionaire. I think he just finished. He divorced Marilyn Monroe, and he had a bit of time on his hands, and he wanted to write. He wanted to write a book about dockers in New York, but he hadn't got a clue of how to sort of write the dialogue, or he probably had a clue because he was a great writer, but he couldn't really get the essence or the nuances. I think we paused the nuances of the characters. So he went there and he worked in the Bronx dockyard for 2 years. He was a millionaire and he worked there for 2 years to get the nuances, the essence of the character. And you know,
Wow.
that's brilliant. I mean, you know, so I've really gone off on a tangent here. And to answer your question,
So you're fine.
yeah, to answer your question, when it comes to a book, you've got a great novel, or a play, or you know, Oscar Wilde, you know, a poem. You know, it's evergreen. You know, it's always good. You're always going to want people, regardless of their age, reading that and appreciating it. Kafka, you know, all these great writers. But then you've got, of course, you've got books out there that are not great, and you've got films out there that are not great. But then we define what is great. It's all subjective, isn't it? So if I pick up a book or watch a movie and I think, oh, that's fantastic, and I tell my friends, and then they read that book or watch that film, it's terrible. So it's really subjective. Yeah, it's really subjective. We can't really define it, I think. Yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I was just, curious because I'm not have zero, experience in the film industry. I was just wondering how that all worked, and how you got into acting in the first place. Is that something you always wanted to, or did you kind of did that?
Yeah, it's a long story. I mean, I don't know how long this video goes on for, but yeah, it stems from when I was 4 years old. I went to the pantomime with my mum to watch Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and the actors on stage said, is it anyone's birthday? It wasn't my birthday, but I really wanted to be on stage. So I put my hand up, but my mum, I come from a Catholic background, and she put it down, and she was scared, afraid that somebody might like spot us, and so I kept putting it up and she put it down. It was like but I never got on stage, and I do recall, even going back a few years, crying buckets of tears. And she has said recently, actually, that I regret not allowing you to go on stage. And yeah, and then it's quite a long story, but a few years passed. I went to a grammar school, and I was going to maths class, and the stage was jumping out at me, and I thought, I really want to take performing arts. So I told all my friends. They ridiculed me, and they called me names, and I bowed down to peer pressure, and I didn't do it. So I got thwarted again. It was just like a never-ending story. Eventually, I got a dating program, which was quite famous in the UK, called Blind Dates. And when I walked on stage in front of the audience, I have never, ever felt anything like that before. And I knew that I'd found what I wanted to do in my life. So yeah, it took me quite a long time to get there, but I got there in the end. That's the start, and then it kind of built up from there. Yeah, college, university, drama school. So.
Gotcha, amazing. Yeah, so you've been in a ton of short videos, and you've written your own films, and actually, how we got connected was because of Rod Gilly, who I had just interviewed on this channel. He knows that I'm, into metal music and everything like this, and he sent me this Cradle of Filth video, and he's like, "Hey, my friend is in this video, and he's also, a writer." And I was like, "Oh no way, that sounds fantastic." So yeah, I'm curious to know how you got into the Cradle of Filth video, and if you're a fan of the band, and just that whole story.
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to music videos, there is no sort of dialogue, because the music is playing. So it's all about the silent acting, and I'm a great fan of silent acting. I used to watch like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, and I as a boy, my friends couldn't understand why I loved, and even now they still don't understand why I love watching those type of black and white silent movies. So when it came to the role, I was playing Giles de Rey. So we was given a character. Giles de Rey dated Joan of Arc, and reportedly he was a cannibal, but that was a conspiracy theory because they needed a reason to execute him because he was dating Joan of Arc. So they made up this story, the French government, and that's the reason why they had an excuse to execute him. So I did a lot of research, and I had a backstory, and then I started watching some Cradle of Filth videos. I wasn't familiar with them prior to that, and and I was like, wow, these guys are pretty good, and they had lots of support online. And I was like, this is something different. So we filmed at Pinewood Studios, which is really large studios in just on the outskirts of London. I got there, didn't know what to expect, and met the band. Great guys, Danny Filth is a lovely guy. Got chatting to him, and you expect him to be this really hard, like tough guy, but he's really gentile. He's really like, it's like somebody you take home to meet your mum. He's really, really calm and relaxed.
Yeah. I actually got the opportunity to do a little interview with him a couple of years ago, and he's just a really, really sweet guy.
He is so sweet. Oh, you did an interview. You've met, so you did have a chance to talk to him. Yeah, he's a lovely guy, isn't he?
Yeah, very briefly. Yeah, but he's a cool guy, and that Cradle is one of the most like theatrical bands out there. So getting to be on one of their music videos is fantastic. I'm sure and watching the video, the production is all really cool, and it's a fun video.
It was a really adventurous day. Yeah, that was a great experience. And when it went online, I was really blown away how many people watched Cradle of Filth on YouTube. Like 30 million, 40 million, and something insane.
Yeah, they got a big following. So
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, doing music videos is quite different. There was another one, Cage the Elephant. Don't know if you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that. Familiar a little
bit. Yeah, I did a music video for them also, Cage the Elephant.
Really?
And I played a New York cop, and it was quite interesting because there was the director directed me and said, I want you to really, really be a bit of a rebel, and I want you to just go for it. And I did, but I think I went a little bit overboard, and they asked me to pull back a little bit. But that was a great experience working with those. They were lovely guys. Cage the Elephant.
Okay.
Yeah, Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, I think the song is. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know a ton of songs by Cage the Elephant, but that's one of the few that I know. I'll definitely have to do a video.
Yeah, it's not like I'm not like to be honest, I'm not the type of person that I need to be in it all the time. It's not like I'm like that. So it was a cameo role, but it's not like the Cradle of Filth where I had a little bit more screen time. But yeah, it was great to work on that music video also. Yeah.
Okay, so and then I'm sure working on music videos is far different than stage acting and all that. I mean, there's the silent element that you mentioned, but is it? I mean, how is it drastic, like night and day type of thing, or do you use the same acting principles? I would assume.
Great question. When I first started out, I did some background work, extras. While I was at college, I was getting a bit bored. It's 50% theory, 50% performance, and I just wanted to perform. And my tutor was like, no, it's 50% theory, 50% performance. So I signed up for the local agency which did background work, thinking that would be a way into the industry. How wrong I was. But of course, the background work, you don't have any dialogue. And I was itching to get like some lines and to say something. The lead, the stars of the show were talking, and I wasn't. I was there trying to get itch in there. But when I kind of thought about it, and I go back to the Charlie Chaplin thing and Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd. I loved Harold Lloyd. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. I realized then that it's not about the dialogue. And then I started to watch great performances like Max von Sydow in The Magician. Absolutely, for 40 minutes he doesn't say a word, but you can't take your eyes off of this guy. It, you know, the screen sort of presence that he's got is outstanding. And then I realized that it's not about the dialogue. Dialogue is not that important. In fact, dialogue can really spoil the performance somewhat. Let's look at Castaway, Tom Hanks. Have you watched that movie?
Oh yeah.
Now, for me, it's a great movie when he's got Wilson, okay, and it doesn't say much, you know.
Yeah.
When he comes back to the normality and he uses the dialogue and he gets back and meets all his friends and family. For me, that killed the film. I would have preferred him to have stayed there, and maybe they rescued him, and that's where the film ended.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't take your eyes off of that performance. It was an outstanding performance. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people think, oh yeah, you know, you need to say something. All my friends were like, when I was doing like music videos or silent films, or you know, why are you not saying anything? You know, what? It's not that important. In fact, I prefer silent acting over acting with dialogue. Yeah,
that's fascinating. Yeah, I never thought about that. But yeah, I guess, you know, if you think about it, I mean, most of acting is, you know, everything else other than what you say.
It is, and going back to the writing as well. I mean, there are some outstanding screenwriters, but often you'll receive the script and, without no disrespect to the writer, some of the dialogue is quite wooden because it's very difficult to write for somebody else that you've not met, and the actor then has to take it on. So when I first started out, I, rightly or wrongly, started to change the dialogue. So initially, I was speaking to the director. I said to the director, "Do you mind if we change this bit because it sounds a bit wooden?" When I was starting out, and they said, "No, you can't. You have to stick to the script categorically. That is it. You cannot do it." So then I started to do it without telling them. Okay. And I won't say 9 times out of 10, but I'd say 6 times out of 10, maybe I got away with it. And I did get pulled back a few times by saying, no, it doesn't say that in the script. You need to stick to the script. And I do recall I did a film in Bulgaria, and I was playing, I was actually playing a writer, believe it or not. I was playing a failed writer. And there was 2 actors, I'm not going to mention their names. I was working alongside quite a few actors, but there was 2 in particular, and they really, really despised the way that I changed the lines. So really? I realized then it kind of, they were really, I can't say, I'll have to take that bit out. So when it comes to the end bit, you know, everyone needs their cues, because if you don't have a cue, how do you know when to come in? So if I change the end of the script, then they are waiting for that cue. So then, you know, I realized that if I'm going to change any of it, it has to be in the middle, or at least, you know, when it's not near their cues. But yeah, I've got myself in trouble many times.
Goes back to the rebel personality that you have, and yeah, I love that. I mean, as a metalhead myself, that is something that, you know, like, metal music is all about, and that's something I talk about on my other channel when I talk about music. Is all about just kind of doing whatever you want, and you know, not listening to the status quo necessarily. So that's
yeah. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, please do. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I heard from 1 or 2 of my friends who had done a little bit of acting. They said that it's always more fun to play the villain. Do you find that to be true, or do you disagree?
Great question. I never get the hero character. I don't know if it's the way that I learned. I don't believe that there has ever been any film that I've been in that I was cast as the hero. No, I've always played the villain. Maybe the one that when I played the author, it was quite a light film. It was a dark comedy, but other than that, I would say 9 times out of 10, I play the villain. And your friend, the actor, is, from my point of view, is completely right. You can really get your teeth into that character. You can really scare people, and you don't mind if I go off and just say one story, but I was at
Oh yeah, go.
drama school, and we were on stage, and we were given characters to play and play alongside other actors, and I was given a mafia character, and so I was on stage and I started strangling the other actor, uh, and and everybody was really really shocked and surprised. I mean, it wasn't really, but I was
Yeah.
going for it, And this actor, he was really shaking like a leaf. He wasn't expecting it, and my tutors like lampooned me. They completely they said stop, stop it. like and everybody was really really shocked, and I was really into it. I really loved playing this character. And then after everybody had gone, they asked me to stay behind, and I really despise being lampooned. I don't mind people criticizing me, one on one, but when it's in front of everybody else, I don't like it. So they said, they chastised. I don't know if that's the right word, but they really, really like gave me a telling off. And yeah, I love those characters. I really, really, really enjoy playing the villain. I think you can really get your teeth into those characters.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, I don't act obviously, but I feel like it would be more fun to play the villain. I have some experience. I grew up dancing, so I have some experience, sort of, with like stage performance. But yeah, I always like the darker roles. I feel like those are more fun anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Which type of dance then
Oh,
train?
a little bit of everything: ballet, jazz, hip hop, tap. All the things.
Oh, wonderful. Are you still dancing, or are you not dancing anymore?
Yeah, I do a little bit of ballroom dance currently. So.
Very good. I've got two left feet. Yeah, I've got another story. One of my old agent, when I came from Yorkshire, I'd gone to college and they sent me the wrong diploma. They sent me a diploma for dance, okay, instead of drama. But I kept it. I thought I might find this useful. I might find this useful. So eventually, after being in London for a few years, I got an agent, and she said, "Oh, what's your skills?" I said, "Oh, well, I've got a dance diploma." Uh, and but then I think as I remember rightly, I said to her, "No, no, no." Just I told her the story. It was sent by mistake, but I believe that she forgot that part of it, because a few months later, she sent me for an audition. Now sometimes she just text me and say, "Go to this place." She wouldn't tell me anything. It was like a blank
Oh
canvas.
god.
I wouldn't know what to expect until I got there. And a lot of the times we had a really good connection, like in terms of we had a good strike rate. We got a lot of success together. So that we didn't want to change that technique. And then she sent me to Pineapple Studios. It's a famous dance studios in Covent Garden. And sometimes you have auditions in hotels and you have them in different locations. I didn't think anything of it. Okay, so I got there, and then there was all these like dancers, all dressed, professionally. Here's me in my jogging bottoms and trainers, and they're all like warming up, and then there was a casting director, the producer, the choreographer, and I'm there looking, and I'm thinking maybe I've got the wrong audition. So she asked the production assistant asked my name, and it was on the list. And I'm thinking, like I say, I've got two left feet. I can't dance. Okay, I've got a dance diploma, but I can't dance. Okay, I'm a dilettante, let's say. So basically, they put us into groups, and I was in like the third group, and the first group they gave like some instructions, and they had to just follow the thing. And I'm thinking to myself, now there's no way, even if I spent a year, could I ever do what they're doing. They were like trained dancers, and I was absolutely terrible at dancing. If I had a few beers with my friends, I could do a little bit of flamenco on the dance floor, but I was absolutely shocking. So I had to think on my feet. Being an actor, that's the beauty of being an actor. You can think quickly. So I started warming up. I started touching my toes. It was all just method in my madness. I knew what was going to happen. And then when it came to group 2, just before they started, I did a little yelp, like I pulled a muscle in my back. And I walked around the studio like in pain, like having a little bit of a pained face. And I pulled one of the casting director producers to one side, and I said, "I'm really, really sorry. I've been warming up, and I think I've strained my muscle, and I don't want to make it worse." And she's, "Oh, that's a shame. Maybe come back next time." I said, "Oh yeah, I definitely will." Yeah. And I made my excuses, and I left the audition, and that was a close shave. Yes. So yeah, it was. Yeah, but as a dancer, you can probably understand that a non-dancer could not perform unless you are trained. You just can't do it.
Yes.
You can't do it. Yeah.
Oh gosh. That's a fantastic story, though.
Yeah. So yeah, writing has been a real, like, how can I put this? A catalyst to get me back into acting. I've taken a while off. I screwed my career through my ego, and it kind of knocked my confidence because there were some great opportunities, and I blew them. So that's why writing the book has really stimulated me and pushed me forward to get back into my acting. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I have the. Do you mind if I read the little blurb, or?
Oh, please do. Please do.
That? Okay. I'm not a great narrator here, but I'm gonna try my best. All right. Jason Matthew Croot is a true Yorkshire man who shoots from the hip and says it as it is, and he does it his way. Croot is an actor, author, filmmaker, and rebellious hellraiser who has made a million mistakes throughout his life. He believes in taking the road less traveled. This book will take you on a journey beyond comprehension, beaming full of colorful, witty anecdotes, as well as many tales of woo, including being kidnapped and almost arrested in Greece, nearly lured in by a pimp in Italy, swindled in Portugal, stalked in London, and robbed and almost locked up in Mexico. So, if you're ready for a candid, hard-hitting, and truly unforgettable ride through the life of a true rebel, then come on in, and hold on tight. This book comes with a caveat. It isn't for the faint-hearted and includes explicit language, wild stories of sex, drugs, and partying. And if that doesn't make you want to read it, I don't because I need to learn about you getting kidnapped and almost lured in by a pimp. But I'm not going to make you give any spoilers about any of those stories, but it just sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Thank you for reading that blurb, but yeah, it's the stories. I mean, not for me to say. It's difficult, isn't it? When you get to a point where can you? Yeah, that is really basically what happened. Every time I go on holiday, or maybe when I'm filming, something generally happens. I don't know why, but it's usually disastrous. and it's one thing after another. I can't really go away on holiday and relax because I just kind of know that something's going to happen, whether it be almost arrested or lured in by a pimp or kidnapped. Yeah, so it was, don't go traveling with me. That's what I would
say. Yeah, that's the moral of the story, I suppose.
I would recommend it. Yeah.
Well, whenever I upload this, I will put all of your links to your book and to you as all your social media and everything. I'll put that all down in the description for anyone watching who would love to check that out. I'm sure. I mean, I'm very intrigued, and I'm looking forward to getting me a copy. So.
Well, yeah, I like I say, there's great writers out there, and they're, I can't compare to anything. I'm not trying to emulate anybody. I'm an amateur when it comes to writing. I've tried my best. I've given everything I can. I've put my heart and soul on the line. I've told it all my life story, and all my secrets are going to be in the book. So yeah, I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit concerned. I must say, I don't get nervous that often, but when it comes to releasing this, I'm not sure um, what to expect or what the feedback will be. But yeah, there's lots of secrets about me in that book.
Okay, well,
Big
your mom didn't
reveals. I
read
call them big reveals. Actually, big
Okay.
reveals. I've kind of revealed quite a lot of stuff, which my friends, my best friends, don't even know about. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and it's not all um, bright lights and glamour and glitz. There's a lot. I'll be honest with you. Oh no, then I'm giving away one of the big reveals.
Yeah.
But yeah, how, can I say that? Maybe I don't. Maybe I do. Like
Well,
on
yeah.
Amazon. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure, like every book is not all one tone throughout. Of course you're going to have, the rises and falls of any story, be it to like a work of fiction or, an autobiography. Of course, there's going to be highs and lows. And so, um, yeah, I don't want to
I
make
would
you
say that
spoil anything. So,
no, I would say categorically there's more lows than highs in my life. But I've got yes. If it was a roller coaster, I don't think it would. It'd definitely go off the ground, but it'd come back down crashing very quickly. So yeah, it was. I lived on the edge, and I guess that's just the type of character I am, and I do it my way, and uh, often I upset people on the way, and I don't try to upset them. I don't go out to upset them, but I don't want to be fake. I don't want to
Mhm.
be someone I'm not, and I don't want, I just want to be me. And
Yeah.
often, when you are you, not everybody gets you or understands you, and
Hmm.
they don't understand why you did that, and sometimes I don't understand myself why I did that. Um, but that's just the way I live my life, I guess, and I think it's the best way to be, because when we're living for other people, when we're conforming, because society tells us we have to do it this way. The 2.4 children, the picket fence, the mortgage. For me, that's not me. I'm
Hmm.
living in a freezing cold apartment. There's no lights. I've got like electricity's really, really not great. I eat beans on toast. No, there's no sort of, there's no sushi or cordon bleu. That's the type of person I am, and I'm quite happy living like that because money's not important to me whatsoever.
Hmm.
But when we start conforming and doing things for other people, then it's all falsehood. And I really don't like that. I just want to be me. And you
Absolutely.
like me or you don't, and hopefully you do. But I know some people don't. Yeah, so that's just the way it is. Yes, yeah. But I appreciate you inviting me down today and having me as a guest on your show, and it's been lovely meeting you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I had so much fun talking to you, and I don't usually laugh this much in interviews, so I had a lot of fun. In clearly, you are a very interesting guy with some amazing stories, just from the little quick anecdotes that you shared here. But yeah, thank you so much, and I look forward to reading the book and yeah, learning more about you and your stories.
Well, thank you once again, and all the best. And I look forward to speaking to you in the near future.
Yeah, yeah. All right, yeah. Thank you so much, Jason, and we'll definitely we'll set up a time to do it again here soon.
All right, JJ, take care. All the best. See you later.
Links to his book will be down in the description for you all to check out, along with all his social media pages and his website. I encourage you all to check out the book. I know I'm excited to learn all about the dangerous and rebellious stories that he has to tell in this book. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Till next time.